Hello, friends. Welcome to the Career Guru podcast. I am your host, Steve Yanofsky. What a glorious day it is to start your path in a new career. Doors are opening here at the Boston Career Institute even as we speak. And I'm here holding the key for you. So tune in, stay sharp, and enjoy yourself. This is going to be great. Hashtag Let's Career Up.
Good day to you, aspiring gurus and conversationalists all across the fruited plain. I am Steve Yanofsky, your career guru, coming to you across the internet, yet again, with the most exciting guest that I have joining us today. Her name is Maya Dreifus. Maya, introduce yourself to the Guru Land, please.
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. I'm Maya Dreifus. Excited to chat with you today. And just very quickly, I am here today in my individual capacity and not as a representative of Visa. And all thoughts or opinions that I express today are my own.
That is fantastic. I am most excited to hear your own opinions and everything else, which is why you're here today, which is why I'm here today. It's all about our mutual opinions. And I got to tell you, I've never had a guest on my show read a disclaimer, which means only one thing, that you are super duper important and just super awesome, which is the only reason why you could join the Career Guru podcast. Why don't you tell the Guru Land who you are, and then we'll just take it away from there.
Sounds good. Thank you. So I have been at Visa for almost 6 years, and then I spent the previous 6.5 years at American Express. So I've been in payments for quite some time. And at Visa, I currently lead a sales team that looks after clients who mostly do business online. So think about delivery players. My clients are probably ones that you guys use quite a bit. And then in terms of myself outside of my job, I am a parent. I have 2 small children. They're 6.5 and 4, and they keep me very, very busy. I'm also a professional career coach, and that is something that I did about 1.5 years ago. I finally got my degree that I'm super psyched about. And I love to help people reach their full potential and also be in the right career for them.
Fantastic. This is great. So you work for Visa. Now, Visa and American Express, so that's that little logo that's at the bottom of just about everybody's credit card or a debit card. It says Visa or one of those MasterCard. And tell us a little bit about what exactly that is. I mean, I always thought that it's the bank that has a little Visa logo on it. What does it mean to a bank? And, I have no idea.
Sure. So Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover are all payment networks, which if you think about the payment system, it's kind of like the railroad tracks that various trains run on. So I think a common misconception is that American Express, Visa, Discover, MasterCard are all credit card companies. They're not. So they are points of connection between point A, which is usually a seller, and point B, which is usually a buyer. So what Visa and other networks do is make sure that the transaction, once the consumer or the customer uses their payment credential, like a credit card, a debit card, they could be using Venmo, and make sure that that transaction makes its way safely from them to the business that they're paying.
Okay, great. That's an excellent explanation. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm sure everybody else appreciates it too. So what exactly is your job title over there?
So it's a VP of Platform Services.
VP stands for?
Vice President.
I just want to make sure there's clarity that, we're talking to somebody who actually does something and not like other people who don't make it to the Career Guru podcast. What does that entail? Do you lead a bunch of people? How many people would that be? Do you like what you do?
Yeah, I love what I do. I get to be the leader for a small team of people who are all fantastic. And my main job is twofold, or threefold rather. One is to set strategy for the team and to make sure that they know the point of departure and the point of arrival. The second thing is to make sure that if there's any obstacles in the way, that I am removing them. And the third thing that is helping them grow. So helping them develop, and that could mean in their current jobs, or it can mean helping them get a fabulous new job as well.
That's just amazing. How did you get there? How did you end up in there? This is not, you read the periodicals, you read the help wanteds, and say, a VP of sales in Visa, that sounds like me. How does that work? How does one get?
Yeah, it's how much time do we have all day? I'll give you the short version. So the way that I got there was a pretty interesting story. So I actually ended up going to school for my undergraduate degree at the George Washington University in DC. And my undergraduate degree was in international affairs and in Russian. So nothing to do with payments, to be very clear for anyone listening. After that, I ended up getting a job through an ad in the newspaper. So you can calculate how old I must be to do that. That was my first job. I got a marketing job out of college, and I was super excited about it. About a year into that job, I realized that this is an amazing place I'm working at, but I want to do something else. And I started hearing about these 3-letter degrees, and I was like, what's an MBA? So that's a Master of Business Administration. And about a year into my role at the marketing agency, I ended up researching a lot what that means, where could I go, and I zeroed in on one specific school, Columbia Business School in New York City, in New York State. And I just really loved everything about it. I loved what it stood for, the diversity of thought, the fact that they had a high percentage of women that they accepted, which is at the time was a unique characteristic for a business school, which was mostly male dominated. And I ended up applying only to Columbia Business School, which was a huge risk and one that various folks tried to talk me out of, but I was paying for my own education. So I made the choice that gave me the biggest return on my investment. And, good.
No, please continue. I just had a thought, and I made a mental note as to what I should ask you next.
Sure. So it was 2 of the happiest, most exciting years of my life. It feels like if anybody plays video games, you unlock a new level and you're above the clouds and you never even knew this existed. So that's how I felt when I went into the school. The downside was that I started my education there in 2008, which was when the market crashed. So that was really challenging. People weren't getting internships. People weren't getting jobs graduating from the top business school. And when I graduated, I was fortunate enough to be recruited actually into the medical industry. So I worked for almost a year for Henry Schein in Melville, New York. And I was, during that year, I realized that I had learned a ton, but just not, it really wasn't my industry. So I wanted to figure out what's next. And somebody from my graduating class put me in touch with a recruiter at American Express. I spoke with the recruiter, but I actually told her that I was going to withdraw my application because it was still too early in my tenure with my current employer, and I wanted to really give it a go. So she said she was going to put my resume on file and give me a call back. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing, because who actually keeps somebody's resume on file and gives them a call back? In 6 months, she gave me a call back and she said, "Are you ready now?" And I said, "I'm certainly interested in the conversation." Ended up recruiting me into the company, and I had a fantastic run at American Express. Fabulous company, great learning, great leadership skills training. And by the way, when I went in there, I didn't know anything about payments, 0. Just whatever cards or bank relationships that I was using. So everything I learned about that industry was on the job. And I was very fortunate to have phenomenal leadership that took the time to invest in me. And every time I raised my hand, whether it was for a mentor or a direct report or another opportunity, there was always somebody who was looking to invest in me. And that's how I got into payments itself. And then, I worked really hard, right? I looked for opportunities that maybe other people weren't as excited about. And I raised my hand, and ultimately I built my brand at the company as somebody who is looking for new challenges, somebody who's not afraid to learn something different, and somebody who works really hard. And that helped my career progression through American Express. And then about 6.5 years in, I was finishing out my role at American Express that sort of felt like a startup, because we did a concept in the US that's never been done before. It didn't work, but it's still the 3 years where I learned the absolute most is in that job, because I worked with a small group of people and we were all working towards the same goal. So then when that business was sunsetting, I had a choice to stay or go. And because that job was so amazing and so broad and had so much responsibility, when I looked across the enterprise at the same level I was at, there was not a lot of challenges that I felt I could really scale at that point. So I started looking externally. And through my mentorship relationship, I actually got connected with somebody at Visa for a discussion. It wasn't actually an interview. It was more of a conversation about whether the company would be a good fit, whether it's a company where my skill set would be appreciated, and whether it's a company where I could thrive. So that's how I got connected with someone at Visa. And then I had a number of different conversations with different people there. And after a little while, I was in an interview process for my first role at Visa, which, by the way, was not a vice president role. It was a senior director role, which is the level below it. And I got hired, and I worked really, really hard to learn the business. I thought that, the two businesses that I previously worked at and that I'm working at now are the same. They're not. And I was successful in my previous job. And then there was a promotional opportunity available. I was encouraged to apply. There was a very rigorous process to choose the right candidate, and I was the one left standing with the job.
Phenomenal. I would like to sort of zero in on a couple of things that you had said, that you had mentioned in your conversation with us. First, the concept of return on investment. This is something that I have talked to my audience for quite some time, and I'm trying to get the point across about the actual understanding of return on investment when it pertains to investing in your own self. And this is what I encourage people to do, is to invest in themselves. Can you talk a little bit about your ROI? You went to Columbia University. I just want to, for your MBA, and I just want to pass this on to people. First of all, Columbia University is an Ivy League school. It's in the league of its own, Harvard, Yale, Columbia, okay, and several others. No need to discuss anybody else. But the fact of the matter is, you understand what caliber of education that you receive in that institution and what risk you took to apply just to one school. That's certainly understandable. And the education comes with a very hefty price tag. This is not a cheap thing to do. But yet you mentioned return on investment. Talk to the audience a little bit and tell us a little bit about that return on investment, what it actually means and what it meant to you in the future.
Yep. So I'm very focused on a positive return on investment, because the return on investment could be negative as well, which is a very unfortunate investment, but that happens too. For me, it was about understanding how much would it actually cost to go to this school. And as you mentioned, this is not a cheap school. And I think that the one point I'll just underscore is, because the market crashed as I walked the hallways of Columbia Business School, for the second year of my education, my loans came with a massive interest rate. So it doesn't matter how good of a credit you had, everybody was subject to double digits. Okay. So that immediately made the price tag much heftier. But what I knew was, when I went to Columbia Business School, I was 24, which is quite unusual because usually business schools ask for more work experience. So I actually took multiple risks. One, I applied when I was, 20. Actually, I applied when I was 23. I only applied to that school. So there were multiple ways this could have gone wrong for me, but it didn't. And I was very persistent. And I applied on the first day that the admissions were open. And I applied early decision. So I was very, very sure that that's where I wanted to go. Because I was early on in my career, when I graduated from the school, the salary that I then was offered was very, very different, much higher than what I had when I came in. So for me, because I was early on in my career and I was super laser focused, that trajectory made a lot of sense. And I think that if I didn't go, I'm not sure that I would have gotten to that level of salary anytime soon, right? So by taking the flip side is, again, it's expensive to go, and it's 2 years of your life. So I went full time. So it's 2 years that I willingly took myself out of the workforce, there's an opportunity cost there as well of not making a salary and also being in debt. So the good news is that the way that a lot of the MBA salaries are structured is there's often a bonus that they pay when they hire you into whatever your first job might be. And that really starts helping with paying back the debt, right? So that's how I thought about it. And then I would say that every decision I make is always about return on investment. And it's not only monetary, it's also about relationships, right? Do I go into a relationship that's positive, right? And that could be a peer relationship or, obviously my marriage. And the same thing I would just say about coaching, because the coaching degree, while less than the cost of Columbia Business School, is also an investment. And I realized that it's something that I was doing naturally with people, but I didn't have the right skill set to be like a superstar at it. So I found a place that was highly recommended. It's called ICA, the International Coach Academy. They're fantastic. And I spent a year and a half of my free time, so after work or early mornings or weekends, in order to get that degree in addition to the degrees I already have. And I think that was also a wonderful investment that is currently paying both in very much in my full-time job, because now I'm in my leadership philosophy. I use coaching quite a bit, and I also use it in mentorship. And then separately, I do have my own coaching business. It's quite small right now, just because obviously I have a very important full-time job. But that is something that is another avenue for both growth and also salary.
Phenomenal. So I see there's a common theme in what you're saying also, aside from return on investment, is also the level of the self-devotion and hard work that you are investing into your own self. So you're not just working like donkey work, forgive me for making a comparison, but you're actually investing into yourself fully and with full commitment. How about a support structure? Did you have to rely on any support structure when you made that investment into yourself? And who helped you along your journey?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's impossible without any support structure, or rather, probably improbable, not impossible. People told me it was going to be impossible for me to get into Columbia Business School, by the way. So nothing's impossible.
And I'd like to sort of talk about that a little bit later, if you remind me, because I'm bound to forget. Please continue. I apologize.
Yeah. So my family has been extremely supportive of the coaching endeavor. Specifically, I think they were probably a little bit surprised because my full-time job's amazing, and they're like, "Why do you want more things?" But it's just something that's a passion of mine and something I feel very strongly about. There's nothing like touching another person's life and seeing them do better afterwards. Like there just isn't. So this was my opportunity to do that. And my husband was very supportive. He had to lean in and do more things with the kids so that I could do my morning classes or weekend classes. My parents, who were at the time living just a few minutes away from us, were also stepping in. And then the one other person that I would mention is my coach. So the reason I found out about the coaching space was because I was fortunate enough to be able to get a coach through my full-time work. And she really encouraged me. She's a graduate of ICA as well. So she had firsthand experience, and I see her success, and I see what caliber coach she is. So I would say both people inside of my family, but also my larger circle and my friends too, who said, this is absolutely what you are meant to do. Like, this is you. And now you're just getting the degree to prove it.
Well, I'm certainly joining the chorus of people who said that you can and should. One of the things that I advise my students and the audience in the Guru Land here is that making sure that they have positive, intelligent people around them to make sure that they're given the encouragement, a cheerleading squad of sorts, but not a kind of like a dumb cheerleader says, yay, anytime you try to do something. No, somebody who's also bound to give you, forgive me, a dope slap when you're doing something silly, and you ought not do that. But also to make sure to identify people who are detractors, who will say no just about every time you want to do that for multiple reasons. Some people wish to see you fail in your pursuit of success, and some people are afraid of your failure to make sure that you don't get hurt. People discourage other people from success for a variety of reasons. You just have to make sure you identify who they are and make sure you stay with people who tell you that you can and you should and you will, rather than people that don't do that for whatever reason. I wanted to address a couple of other points that you had made. One of the things you said, which resonates with me very much, and I would like to make sure that the audience and our listeners and my students understand, is that when you weren't ready to leave your job with Henry Schein, and you said, I am not ready. I'm not done with my tenure with that company. I mean, I'd love to come and work for you, but the people didn't get their return on investment out of me. They invested in me. I need to give back enough time so people feel that they didn't miss out on me. My name means something. I hope I didn't misunderstand what you said. Can you expound on that just a little bit?
Absolutely. It was both ways, right? Absolutely. When somebody hires you, anyone, it could be a big corporation, it could be a one-person shop, they are investing in you, right? They're betting on you. And every hire is supremely important, especially actually for a smaller company. Every hire is very important. And I would say that I have a strong sense of loyalty, and I want to make sure that wherever I am, I'm doing my best work and it's not being distracted by something else. And for Henry Schein, I also felt that I still had a lot to learn. So I wanted to make sure that I completed a period of time that felt comfortable to me and really understood the business and really also took away something from it, right? Because when people invest in you, they train you, right? They give you their knowledge and then you become better for it, right? You start recognizing patterns in a faster way, or you are able to solve a problem in a creative way that wasn't available to you before. So that's something that I wanted to make sure that I rounded out before I left the company.
Absolutely amazing. This is exactly what just about everyone needs to hear. Everyone needs to hear it, because at the end of the day, your name is all you have left. And no matter what company you're working with, no matter what the other coworkers that you're with, people will remember for who you are and whether you left them in the lurch or anything else. So this is great. I'm sure that if you wanted to, you could go back to Henry Schein. I'm sure you could go to American Express, wherever else life takes you. Your name will be at the top of the pyramid there, which is great. Listen, first of all, I am so grateful that you're here. I would love to have you on the podcast again, because we just scratched the surface. If you're available, please let me know. I'll be there. I want to add, from me, that I know a little bit more of your story than we talked about today. You're an immigrant yourself, and your parents had to start all over. We'll touch upon this some other day to help inspire other people. I'm going to close the segment today saying that you are absolutely amazing. I want to wish you success, health, wealth, time to enjoy it with your family, with your loved ones, and with Guruland, and of course the Career Guru. Don't forget about us. I really want you to come back and inspire our people, our audience out there in the Guruland. Give us a few words in closing today. Please promise to be back.
I'm happy to be back always, whenever you're ready for me. So just in parting, I do want to say just a few words to the people who are listening. And thank you for mentioning that my story started in a different country, right? And when I came, I didn't speak English. So it was a tough time to move at a high school or pre-high school age, rather. Kids weren't very nice. So there's adversity we all face, but I think you make of it what you can. And what I would just leave in parting is, whoever's listening, you're stronger than you think, more resilient than you will ever know. No matter what challenge you may be facing today, you are someone's rock, you're someone's inspiration. If you bet on yourself, others will bet on you too. And your success will be a story that they tell for generations to come. Thank you.
You're amazing. Thank you so very much. I am floored, absolutely floored. I'm going to encourage everyone to listen to this particular podcast, much like the other ones, but this one in particular. There's so much depth and profundity in the statements that you had made, in the stories that you had shared. I can't wait for more. Thank you very much. God bless you. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Well, friends and aspiring career gurus, this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, and I'm feeling grateful that we spend time with you. For more information about Boston Career Institute, please visit our website, bostoncareer.org. Boston Career Institute has 3 campuses located in Brookline, Massachusetts, Malden, Massachusetts, and Lowell, Massachusetts. Call our toll-free number, 888-383-6058. For questions, comments, and/or information about our podcast, email me at thecareerguru@bostoncareer.org. The Career Guru podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website, bostoncareer.org, or wherever you stream your podcast. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your rating and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by PodPro Entertainment, The Career Guru lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. Hashtag the new radio. Looking forward to seeing you soon. All the best to you. My name is Steve Yanofsky. I am the Career Guru. May God bless you. Hashtag let's career up.